Warner Brothers is a massive company with plenty of properties under their belt. This has come to a head when they announced and released their new platform fighter, Multivursus. With a massive characters ranging from Game of Thrones to Adventure Time, Multiversus is massively popular despite it still being in its beta phase. So, we're doing one of our favorite prompts for a popular thing like this. I'm Caleb with wickedbinge, and this is which Multiversus character would survive Squid Game. So, a couple of caveats before we get started. Firstly, we'll be accounting for both their wider lore and their in-game lore for this list, simply because the Multiversus lore is a bit thin at the moment. Secondly, we'll also be including some leaked characters, but we'll only be accounting for characters who have sufficient evidence for their inclusion. Thirdly, we'll also be including variants of playable characters who are considered their own character. There's only a few that qualify, but it's worth mentioning. Finally, we're excluding any powers, weapons, or special abilities. Otherwise, certain characters would sweep this list. The characters that land on our list are Finn Mertens, Jake the Dog, Cake, Batman, Superman, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, Nubia, Raven, Steven Universe, Garnet, Rick Sanchez, Morty Smith, LeBron James, the Iron Giant, Tom, Jerry, Bugs Bunny, Taz the Tasmanian Devil, Daffy Duck, Marvin the Martian, Shaggy, Velma, Rain Dog, Eleven, Arya Stark, Daenerys Targaryen, Yakko Warner, Wacko Warner, and Dot Warner. The first game in this Squid Game series is the preliminary game Red Light Green Light. Two very important factors are needed for this game: a level head for when the shots start to ring out, and the listening skills to follow the instructions of the game masters and the VIPs. This is especially important for the later games, not just this one. The first to go during this game would be Jake the Dog. Jake is a magical half-dog, half-shapeshifter who travels with Finn in the land of Ooh. Jake is a very interesting character because he is a great friend and dad, but he's also sort of lazy, and that does get the better of him most of the time. Jake kind of fails in both of the characteristics needed for the survival in this game. He doesn't seem very level-headed for the most part. He's shown to either be extremely excitable or very lazy, and there's really no in-between for him. He's also known to zone out at times and stop listening if the conversation is not to his liking, hence why we think he fails at this game. The next person to fall during this game is Steven Universe. Steven at the moment in the game is based on the classic series Steven, and as such, we're basing most of his info on that series. In the original series, Steven is seen as naive and unable to keep a level head, and in Steven Universe Future, he's sort of hot-headed, and not that level-headed either. Steven is also seen as sort of impatient and not the greatest at listening, hence why he falls here in the game. Coming up next on the list is Harley Quinn. Harley was once a great psychiatrist who tried to psychoanalyze the Joker and became his confidant and sidekick, Harley Quinn. Harley has lost her mind since her time with the Joker, and that has led her to a lot of interesting things. Harley is not known for her level head, growing quite unhinged throughout her time as a villain. She also lacks real listening skills now, but if we were talking about her as Dr. Harleen Quinzel, she wouldn't land here on the list. Dying surprisingly early is Rick Sanchez. Rick is an interesting case because by all accounts and purpose, even without his tech and gadgets, Rick is a genius and a massive threat. However, Rick is a problem for a few reasons. Firstly, while he is a generally level head, certain situations, like the season 3 episode, Pickle Rick, show that he makes very bad decisions, especially when it comes to stressful situations. He's also shown to not be the greatest with authority, and as such, probably wouldn't listen to the VIPs and probably be pretty quickly shot. Hence his placement on the list, dying here during the first game. Not far behind his grandfather, Morty Smith lands next. Morty is a very interesting situation because the version of Morty in the game seems to be an early season version of the character, which makes his personality very particular. Morty is an intent listener for the most part, but the problem comes from his level head or the lack thereof. Morty is a young kid, and when those shots start to ring out, he's very likely to panic and very quickly will get killed by those snipers. The cat's out of the bag, Tom ranks next on our list. Tom is one half of the duo between Tom and Jerry, and he is very well known for being erratic and angry. Tom is not known to be a great listener, as he actively pursues Jerry despite being told not to at different points. He's also well known for being unable to keep a steady head. When he sees Jerry, he will drop just about everything to hunt him down, despite what damages can befall him. Tom is very unique because by himself, he's definitely down in this game, but with Jerry, he'd fall much later. Coming up next on our list is none other than Norville Shaggy Rogers. Shaggy is interesting because in the game, he's much different than his normal counterpart. Shaggy is not shown to be the greatest listener, focused more on the food and scares than he is on listening to others. He's also quite often described as a coward, which shows him off as not very level-headed, which makes him a very easy target in this game especially. The next character on our list is Taz the Tasmanian Devil. Taz is a Tasmanian devil from the island nation of Tasmania, and he's very weird. He doesn't speak like a regular toon, speaking in raspberries and spits throughout most of the series. He is not very intelligent and doesn't listen very well, which is the main reason he wouldn't survive past this. However, he is also shown to lack a level head, which is definitely not good for him in this situation. His focus has always been sort of carnage and destruction, with plenty of interesting musings along the way. Taz wouldn't survive even if he was a saner toon, but he isn't, so it's not like it matters. Speaking of toons, Daffy Duck is last in this section. Daffy is the first lead character on our list, and while we can't confirm he's coming anytime soon, multiple attack animations of his have been leaked and they seem quite legitimate. Daffy is well known for his hatred of authority and general obstinate headstrongness, which obviously puts a damper on his chances of surviving this game, due to the fact that he absolutely despises being told what to do, and how headstrong he is, he definitely doesn't pass this round. After surviving red light, green light, the next trial is the Honeycomb Challenge. Forced to pick a shape and extract it from a brittle cookie utilizing just their body. To survive in this game, you need steady hands and a lot of patience. The first to go is none other than Iron Giant. Iron Giant is an alien from what seems to be the planet Mars, landing on Earth in the 50s. Now, while he needs to be taught a lot of things, Iron Giant seems to be a patient being for the most part. But what really kills him is his sheer size and the fact he's made of metal. The cookie would break pretty quickly in his grip, meaning he would be eliminated here. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Jerry, of the iconic Tom and Jerry duo. Jerry is by far more patient than Tom, and that's very helpful in a game like this. Jerry, being a very small rodent, is a huge detriment in a game like this, being unable to easily extract the shape from the cookie. Now, if he wasn't on a time limit, he'd very likely extract it perfectly, but he doesn't, so he'd very likely lose here. Rounding out this section of the list is Raindog. Raindog is the only Multiversus original character in the game currently. Although others had leaked, we won't be ranking them. Raindog is obviously a combination of a large dog and a reindeer, and because of this combination, he lacks deft hands to break the cookie in the correct places to break out the shape. He's also kind of a big doofus, which wouldn't help if he had the hands for it anyway. The next game we need to talk about is the Midnight Brawl. a non-official game that takes place in between two major games, and there's 3 ways to survive this game. Firstly, you can survive through sheer force of combat, the ability to hide throughout the night, or being smart enough to avoid confrontation. Sadly, the first character to go during the brawl is everyone's favorite meme machine, LeBron James. LeBron is a real person, so we're just going off what we know about him, and while he is an amazing team player, he's but a normal person. He seems to be of average or slightly above average human intelligence, and that's not where we think he falls. Where we think he fails is his combat skills and stealth abilities. As far as we know, he's shown no stealthy ability, and he does not seem to be skilled in group combat. Sure, he is an athlete that has played both basketball and football, but up against combat machines like Batman, Finn, and Arya Stark, he's not going to survive. Sorry, LeBron. Coming up next on our list is 11. 11 is another character that has been leaked. And yes, while she's not owned by Warner Brothers, we do know that WB is open to non-WB content entering the game. Not only has she been in nearly every leak that's come from a credible source, but she's referenced in an in-game voice line from another leaked character.
Alright, Al. Let's crush him like a soda can.
11 is an interesting case, because while she seems to have slightly above average intelligence, she does have significant knowledge gaps as seen in the show. She also doesn't seem to be able to fight without her powers, which is a severe detriment. Sure, she's good with disguises, and that can be considered stealthy, but wouldn't be all that helpful here. Another leaked character on our list is Wacko Warner. Wacko, like the other Warners, are pretty popular characters owned by Warner Bros., which would make them a shoo-in. They've also been in a few leaked character lists, and more recent looks into the files found an in-progress stage that seems to be based on them, being the Warner Brothers Tower from their show. With that out of the way, Wacko is the middle child of the Warner children and sort of erratic. However, we believe he makes it this far, but no further. He shows no real combat skills we can judge, and while some of his stealth skills are sort of advanced, it's more based on the movement than it is not getting caught. He is also undoubtedly the dumbest of the group, which is why we have to eliminate him. Rounding out this category is none other than Marvin the Martian. Marvin is a character that was leaked a while back because apparently voice lines of his have been found. This also makes sense because, like Daffy, he's a pretty popular Looney Tunes character. However, he has to fall here during this game. Marvin without his gear is not a fighter. He relies on his weaponry and his gadgets, not his fists. He's also not that intelligent, making stupid decisions, bad plans, and being generally unintelligent in most of his appearances. Marvin is a great character, but he's not the greatest choice to win. The next game played during this cavalcade of kill games was Tug of War, and while many would assume this game is about strength, there's more to it than that. Not only is strength a factor, but so is teamwork. Being able to work with your team is just as important in this game as your strength. The first to go during this game is Arya Stark. Arya is the third child of the Stark royal family and was never one to be a lady. She instead became a veteran sword fighter, dealing with the death of her companions and family at every turn. She has become the type to never work with anyone she doesn't trust, so teamwork is kind of hard for her regardless. She is also shown to have average human strength for a person of her size and sex, which means on both fronts she loses this game. Rounding out this game is Raven. Raven is another character leaked. This one was leaked through voice lines found in the files, provided by Tara Strong, who was already voicing Harley Quinn. She's also the character referencing 11 we mentioned earlier, hence why we feel like she should be on this list. Raven is weird because she is a very powerful character in a general sense, but without her powers, she's a skinny goth teenager who hates most people. So unless the other Titans were in the games, it's unlikely she'd work well in a team, and she has very little strength, so she wouldn't survive that either. Iconic and evil, the next game on our list is the Marble Game. The Marble Game is one of the last games played, where you're paired off and you need to have all the marbles by the end. This comes down to manipulation and intimidation, both of which are very important factors. So, having that in mind, those are what we'll be looking for. The first to go during this game is Finn Mertens. Finn is the hero of the Land of Ew and supposedly the last human, and he's been working as a hero since he was quite young. The problem with Finn, at least the version that seems to be part of the Multiversus, is his age. He was naive and didn't know what to believe. He was manipulated day in and day out by characters like Princess Bubblegum, Hunson Abadir, the Lich, and even small-timers like Canyon. He also shows no manipulative skills of his own, which is a definite issue in a game like this. Sure, he can be intimidating, but nowhere near the level he needs to be to surpass this game. Up next on our list is the Man of Steel, Superman himself. Superman is interesting because he seems like he would sweep this game, but there's a few reasons he doesn't. Without his powers, he's still been quite a threat, because he still has above average strength and intelligence. But where he falls flat is manipulation. Lacking the ability to manipulate someone is already a fault in this game, but he kind of makes up for it in his intimidation factor. However, more than enough comics, cartoons, and movies show him being manipulated by forces like Lex Luthor or General Zod, and even in Multiversus, one of his leaked variants, Black Lantern Superman falls in this category, being manipulated by Necron and his ring. Superman has to fall during this game, but he may have made it to the end if he was just slightly better at manipulation avoidance. The final Adventure Time character to fall here is Cake. Cake is an anthropomorphic cat who is assumedly descended from a shapeshifter like her male counterpart. Now, due to Cake's backstory being entirely fabricated by Ice King and others, it's completely unknown what her whole story is, but we can work off what we know. Cake shows no manipulative ability, failing to convince Fiona not to go to Bubblegum's ball despite her best attempts. She also doesn't have much to show in the intimidation category, meaning she would have to rely on not getting manipulated. While she doesn't seem like she'd be manipulated, it's completely unknown considering everything she does is pre-written by another character, specifically the Ice King. The oldest Warner sibling, Yakko Warner, is next on our list. Yakko, like his siblings, is included on this list because of the supposed stage found in the files. Yakko is the oldest and plays to that quite well, taking charge quite often in their misadventures. However, Yakko lacks any sort of intimidation factor and doesn't seem to do the whole manipulation thing all too often. Sure, he may not be shown to be manipulated very often, but he still wouldn't win this game. Rounding out this category is Nubia. Nubia is another character that has been leaked repeatedly, being either a skin or a separate character, but always being included. Voice lines of hers have also been found, so she's pretty obvious. In most versions of her story, she's the sister of Diana and a prospective queen of Themyscira. Nubia is a threat by all means and can be quite intimidating. However, she fails heavily in the manipulation category. Not only is she not known for manipulation, but one of her very first stories was about her being manipulated against Themyscira, showing she sort of has a history in failing at that kind of thing. The penultimate game in this series is the Glass Stepping Stones. The stepping stones, often referred to as the glass bridge, is the hardest game to figure out because it's very nuanced. Firstly, knowing the difference between regular and tempered glass is very important but very unlikely. Secondly, finding out what number the character would pick consists of their ego, their cowardice, their fear, and the likelihood of them to sit back and watch. Would they be likely to shift positions to survive? Would they push another person through the glass? Would they sacrifice themselves to take out another? All of these are important to this game. Starting off this section of our list is Garnet. Garnet is the so-called leader of the Crystal Gems and a very powerful leader at that. Garnet shows no tempered glass skills, but one could assume she may have some being a gem. However, with a low ego and little to no fear and cowardice, she'd likely pick a number somewhere in the middle. This is not a death sentence by itself, but combining this with her high likelihood to sacrifice herself to save another, it's very likely she wouldn't survive this game. Not too far afterwards, Wonder Woman is next to fall. Diana Prince is the Princess of Themyscira and a member of the Justice League. Wonder Woman is a hero in every sense of the word, and that goes through in her playstyle during this game. Wonder Woman is not shown to have any tempered glass skills, but most people don't. Diana doesn't have a large ego, but she shows no fear or cowardice, and she loves to rush to the front, which means she would very likely grab one of the front numbers. She is intimidating enough to pull off a switch if she wanted to, but it's unlikely that she would try for this. Also, much like Garnet, she would likely sacrifice herself if necessary, which would mean she would fail, at least for now. The next character to fall down on our list is Dot Warner. Dot is the youngest of the Warner siblings and probably the smartest out of all of them. Dot shows no skills in the form of tempered glass acknowledgement, although where she really falls is everywhere else. She has a bit more of an ego than everyone else and shows a severe lack of fear and cowardice, meaning she'd likely pick a frontrunner number and she'd probably fall quite early. Dot is intelligent, but not the type to force a change or push another through the glass, hence why we've placed her here. The inane trickster Bugs Bunny falls next on our list. Bugs is one of the most iconic characters in all of fiction, being the main character of the Looney Tunes brand and was one of the easiest characters to include in this game. Bugs is a character who loves himself a lot, dressing up with crowns and fine jewelry just to trick people. His ego would make him pick a front number, and showing no signs of fear or cowardice, he'd take that first step and fall through the glass. Bugs definitely falls during this game, there's not anywhere else we can land him. The final character to fall during this game is Velma Dinkley. Velma is a member of the Mystery Incorporated crew, solving mysteries, and she does it quite well. She is amazingly intelligent and survives most of the games, but falls here. Velma doesn't have a large ego, and while she may be able to tell the glass apart, she does have a few issues with her fear and cowardice. This obviously makes her lean towards the back, but also means she won't change positions or push others through the glass. This, of course, means she'd be easy pickings for someone who would, hence why she needs to land here. The final game in the list is none other than the titular Squid Game. While there's a lot of rules to the game, it comes down to hand-to-hand combat. The survivors of this cavalcade of games and the final contestants of our Squid Games are Batman and Daenerys Targaryen. Daenerys and Batman have survived this long due to a wide array of skills under their belts that make fighting and surviving quite easy. Dany dealt with the Dothraki and plenty of others, becoming the mother of dragons, so fighting comes naturally. But despite all that, Daenerys Targaryen is definitely eliminated during this game. Despite Daenerys having many skills and lots of experience, she doesn't hold a candle to Batman. Batman has been trained in nearly every martial art known to man, and has more than one black belt. He is at peak physical condition and has fought many people much stronger than himself. Yes, he wouldn't kill Daenerys, but the game doesn't need to end in a death. He can win the regular game even if Dany would likely be killed by the guards afterwards. So, with all of that discussed, it's no one's surprise that Batman is the winner of this game. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.